Justin Trudeau has arrived in Osaka, Japan for the G20 summit. He's hoping other leaders will help him find an end to Canada's diplomatic battle with China. That fight got more complicated when the Chinese stopped importing Canadian meat. It happened after a shipment of pork arrived in China with fake Canadian certificates and a banned additive. The RCMP are investigating. Well, we have a Western point of view on this next story. CBC's Alison Dempster speaks with an Alberta farmer who worries about what the ban could mean for her industry.
At this farm in central Alberta, hogs are getting fattened up for market. These days, China makes up about 20% of the market for Canadian pork. So far this year, producers have exported more than $300 million worth, and they were hoping to sell a lot more.
It's disappointing to know that, corners were cut or something had happened or was forged.
Jessica Fasoli has a lot of questions about what happened with the batch of problem pork. She raises her pigs on feed without growth additives and has the documents to prove it. Fasoli steers clear of one additive in particular, known as a muscle drug.
We as Canadian farmers go to great lengths to make sure that we're ractopamine free.
Ractopamine is the additive Chinese officials say they detected in a batch of Canadian pork products, prompting them to suspend all meat imports, including beef. While China is a small market for beef producers, amounting to just 2% of exports, they still want to see the suspension lifted as soon as possible.
This is an issue that is with pork, so we have been communicating with the Canadian government, who is investigating why beef has been included in this export certificate halt.
We take our food inspection with the greatest of seriousness, and we will not tolerate anything that detracts from our reputation.
Hog farmers welcome the federal government's investigation, but they say time is of the essence.
If the ban continues to be in place, we're going to have an oversupply of pork, a lot like what the U.S. has had. A lot of pork in supply means that the prices drop.
Fasoli and other producers hope the Prime Minister can ease trade tensions with China at the upcoming G20 summit. A lucrative and growing Canadian pork market depends on it. Alison Dempster, CBC News, near Irricana, Alberta.
As we're seeing there, the restrictions on meat imports could have a huge impact on Canadian farmers, but many Canadian consumers are asking, what exactly is ractopamine, and is it in my food? Our Megan Roberts is looking at that part of the story. So, ractopamine, until about 24 hours ago, most of us never had heard of it. What is it?
It is an additive that you can give to your animals if you are a farmer in a couple of the weeks before they are slaughtered to increase growth. So it's a growth additive, a muscle drug. We just heard in that story. It makes the meat leaner, and it's considered a cost savings measure for the farmer. This is how it works. As animals get older, they're less efficient at building muscle. So farmers can choose to give ractopamine to an animal before they are harvested. That speeds up the animal's metabolism. It helps them put on more muscle, makes them bigger, and it also makes the fat leaner. So it means that there's more protein and less fat in the meat, leaner meat. It also eat less. So makes them bigger, makes them more muscular, better product, arguably. It is legal in Canada, but many other places have banned it.
Yeah, so as you say, it's banned in China, it's banned in Russia, it's banned in the EU, but in Canada and the United States, it's not. So does that mean that Canadian consumers are eating pork that has had ractopamine used?
So here's the thing from industry officials. Because it is banned in so many other places, because Canada exports so much of its meat, of its pork, of its beef to those places where this additive is banned, industry officials say that we really don't use it here in Canada. It's not really worth it to use this additive because it is banned in so many other places that we send our meat. Industry officials say almost no pork farmers use it, that some beef farmers use it, but it's highly regulated. And in fact, that some farmers, many farmers in Canada have moved away from using this additive for almost a decade. So it came as a surprise to many people when this additive was found in that export of pork, including to our agricultural minister. Take a listen.
We've been informed on June 14 that China has found ractopamine in one of our Canadian shipments. That was very surprising because we know our producers don't use this food supplement anymore.
And in fact, for pork specifically, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has a specific program called the Canadian Ractopamine-Free Pork Certification Program. So an entire program to ensure that Canadian pork products don't have ractopamine. But we know that there was that export certification for a pork that was now faked that said that it had ractopamine in it. We know the RCMP is investigating. So ractopamine not widely used in Canada according to industry officials, which is part of why this whole thing is so surprising. And now that we find out that certification is fake, why the RCMP is investigating.
Okay, thanks, Megan.